Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Smackdown and AEW Rampage review. This is going to be a review of last night's shows, which I wasn't home to watch them live, so I DVR'd them, watched both shows this morning, because that's why I did the movie hunting video, and I was out in Brooklyn, I was with my friend. So, delivering the review to you guys today, Saturday. But I'm going to start with Smackdown first. Smackdown last night was from the Simmons Bank Arena in Little Rock, Arkansas. And Smackdown last night was terrible. It was god-awful, in my opinion. We had Bianca Belair versus Carmella versus Lena Vega versus Liv Morgan. It was a fatal four-way elimination match where the winner will be the number one contender to face Becky Lynch for the SmackDown Women's Championship. We had Cesaro versus Dominik Mysterio. We had, once again, Rick Boogs and Nakamura versus Roode and Ziggler. And we had Cesaro versus Chad Gable. And we also had the Roman Reigns family celebration. So, that was SmackDown last night. Overall, terrible show. But let's jump right into the review. So, SmackDown opened up last night with Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch ended up coming out to a huge pop from the Little Rock, Arkansas crowd. So, she ended up getting in the ring. She was on the mic. We had fans chanting Becky. She ended up announcing that the man has come around to Little Rock. Becky ended up saying that it feels good to be back. But not just back on top. She ended up saying, "Oh, I missed you guys." So Becky ended up saying that it was one of the hardest things she ever had to do when she had to give up the Raw Women's Championship last year, which of course she gave it to Asuka. She ended up saying that when she had to give up the Raw Women's Championship, it felt like she was giving up part of her identity. And as she promises, she's been working very hard every day to get back where she was. Becky wants to say that she does have a new life and a new set of priorities. And if you think she was dangerous when fighting for herself, we have no idea how deadly she's about to be. So Becky ended up pointing out how there has been some controversy over her match at SummerSlam with Bianca Belair, which went 26 seconds. So she ended up saying that she would like to take this time to say that she's sorry for absolutely nothing. Right there, you know, Becky being a heel. And of course the fans popped. And right from there, you could tell how great this Becky Lynch heel turn is going to work out. This is Stone Cold Steve Austin, 2001, his heel turn all over again. But only it's Becky Lynch. Nobody's going to boo Becky. Everybody loves Becky Lynch. Yeah, see how fast this goes with her supposed heel turn, which Becky said that when she came back, that she proposed this heel turn and wanted to turn heel. So she ended up talking about being in WWE long enough to know timing is everything. She ended up talking about opportunity and says she had been waiting for the moment. And if you don't know that, you haven't been watching her career. So then she got interrupted by Bianca Belair. Bianca ended up coming out, and when she came out smiling. She shouldn't be smiling. She should be pissed off at what happened last Saturday at SummerSlam, where Becky Lynch ended up defeating her for the SmackDown Women's Championship in 26 seconds. She should be pissed off. Yet Bianca Belair comes out smiling. So Bianca ended up saying that she's not here to make excuses because that's not her style. And that she's not cool with what happened at SummerSlam. She wanted to say that she's worked too hard for too long for Becky Lynch to erase all of that in 26 seconds. So she ended up saying that she accepted Becky's challenge. So Bianca was like, how about we tear it down tonight for the SmackDown Women's Championship. So the fans end up liking that. And then out came Zelina Vega. Zelina Vega was on the mic. She ended up mocking Bianca for being reduced to crying for a rematch. So Zelina Vega ended up thinking that Bianca should go to the back of the line and let her have a shot at the Smackdown Women's Championship. No. What has Zelina Vega done to earn an opportunity and a shot at the Smackdown Women's Championship? Nothing. All Zelina Vega has done since she returned is lose week in and week out. What is her record now that she came back? What is she? 0-12? That's how I see it. She wants a shot at the Smackdown Women's Championship. For what? What opportunity did she have? Other than lose every single week. She should have a shot at going back to catering. And then we had Carmella come out. Carmella, another one who wants a shot at the Smackdown Women's Championship. Another one who, what does she do to earn an opportunity? Nothing. She kept saying that she was only told she was Sasha's replacement 1 hour before she came out at SummerSlam. She wanted to say that she didn't have time to get her hair or nails done or her makeup. So then out came Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan ended up saying that she doesn't understand why Zelina Vega and Carmella feel like they deserve a shot at the SmackDown Women's Championship when they get beat every week. Good on Liv Morgan for saying that. Because it's true. It is fucking true. What has Zelina Vega and Carmella done to deserve a shot at the SmackDown Women's Championship when they get beat every single week? So Liv Morgan was like, oh, if Becky is looking for a contender, she is right here. So Carmella then ended up poking fun at Liv Morgan for Liv Morgan spending the last 2 months at catering, which she should be on TV more. Liv Morgan deserves better. But yet, 2 months in catering, and yet we see Zelina Vega every single week losing on TV. So Liv and Carmella end up having a few words. Bianca ended up saying that all three of them have lost their damn minds. And that this has nothing to do with any of them. And that's between her and the man, Becky Lynch. So Bianca ended up telling Becky to forget about Zelina Vega, Carmella, and Liv Morgan. And let's give the fans what they want. The man versus the EST. So Becky was like, no. And then she ended up getting out of the ring. So she was like, not tonight. So then we had Bianca and Carmella, Zelina Vega, Liv Morgan. They all faced off in the ring. A brawl ended up breaking out. Bianca and Liv were standing in the ring. And Bianca ended up on the outside with Zelina Vega and Carmella. So then we had Bianca end up getting away. She ended up getting back into the ring. Zelina Vega and Carmella end up yanking Bianca back to the floor. Zelina Vega and Carmella end up going into the ring to attack, but Liv Morgan end up knocking them out to the floor from the apron. And pretty much that was basically how this segment ended. But this was an awful segment. This was god-awful. The SmackDown Women's Division is fucking terrible. Could say the same for Monday Night Raw's Women's Division. Both Women's Divisions are fucking terrible. And then we had a Fatal 4-Way Elimination match. This was a number 1 contenders match. Bianca Belair versus Carmella versus Liv Morgan versus Zelina Vega. The winner will be the number 1 contender to face Becky Lynch for the SmackDown Women's Championship. So this was an okay Fatal 4-Way Elimination match. We had Carmella and Bianca Belair end up keeping things going until Zelina Vega ended up coming in. Bianca Belair was working on Zelina Vega. She ended up dropping Zelina Vega face first onto the mat because she ended up pressing her high. Bianca then ended up handspringing to knock Liv Morgan off the apron. And then she ended up handspringing back onto Zelina Vega. Carmella and Zelina Vega were double teaming on Bianca. And Carmella was working on her from the apron. Zelina Vega ended up kicking Bianca down to the corner. Carmella then ended up hitting the Bronco Buster on Bianca Belair. She went for the cover, which Bianca ended up kicking out at 2. So Bianca ended up getting sent out to the floor. Liv Morgan ended up coming in. She ended up getting double teamed by Zelina Vega and Carmella. So it was back and forth between Liv Morgan, Zelina Vega, and Carmella. So later on, Bianca ended up scooping Zelina Vega up. She delivered the KOD, the Kiss of Death. She went for the cover, and Zelina Vega had been eliminated. And that is now 0-13 for Zelina Vega. So then Bianca ended up going to ringside, and Bianca ended up grabbing Liv Morgan, ended up bringing her back into the ring. Carmella ended up attacking Bianca from behind. She ended up sending Bianca into the barricade. Carmella was working on Liv Morgan in the ring. Liv ended up countering, ended up planting Carmella face first, and she went for the cover, and Carmella got eliminated. So Liv was taunting Carmella as she ended up rolling out to the floor. So it was now down to Liv Morgan and Bianca Belair. And you all know who won the match right there. You know where WWE was headed. So we had Bianca Belair and Liv Morgan going at it. We had Bianca Belair end up taunting Liv in the corner. Bianca ended up countering and landed on her feet, and Liv Morgan ended up nailing a big knee to Bianca. We had Bianca end up scooping Liv Morgan up, ended up dropping her with the KOD, the Kiss of Death, and she got the cover. And there you go. Bianca Belair ended up winning the match. Number one contender to face Becky Lynch for the SmackDown Women's Championship. We all knew where it was headed. We all knew that Bianca was going to get her rematch. Overall, match quality-wise, it was okay. And then we had Kayla Braxton. Kayla Braxton ended up stopping Paul Heyman backstage, and she ended up asking where Paul Heyman stands now, that Brock Lesnar is back, and that Lesnar has confronted Roman Reigns. Paul Heyman ended up saying to Kayla Braxton where he always stands, right behind and kind of to the side of his tribal chief, Roman Reigns. So Paul Heyman ended up excusing himself. He ended up saying that he needs to help Reigns prepare for his family celebration. So Paul Heyman ended up trying to go into Roman's locker room, but the door was locked. So he ended up trying to open the door to Roman's locker room, but it was still locked. And then SmackDown went to commercial. So then Kayla Braxton was backstage again with Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman was like, do you have anything else to do? Do you have any other superstar that you got to interview? So he was annoyed at Kayla Braxton. He was still locked out of Reigns' locker room. The Usos, Jimmy and Jay, end up opening the door. They end up saying that Reigns isn't here yet. So they were in the locker room, the Usos. So the Usos end up thinking Paul Heyman knew Brock Lesnar would be at SummerSlam. And Paul Heyman was like, oh, I didn't know that Brock Lesnar was going to show up at SummerSlam. Paul Heyman ended up asking, why would he tear down what they all worked so hard to build up? He ended up saying that it makes no sense, and that he swears he didn't know Brock Lesnar would be there. So the Usos end up asking Paul Heyman, why did he send them to the back, to the locker room, before Reigns' match with John Cena? So Paul Heyman ended up saying to them that he wasn't the one who sent them back. The tribal chief, Reigns, ended up sending the Usos back. So the Usos were like, oh, we're not buying it. So they were questioning Paul Heyman, and they ended up walking back into Reigns' locker room, and that was basically that. And then we had Chad Gable versus Cesaro, and this was just a very meh match. We're going back to Cesaro feuding with Gable and Otis. So we had Cesaro come out after the commercial break because Chad Gable and Otis ended up coming out first. and then SmackDown went to commercial. So Cesaro came out after the commercial break. The bell ended up ringing. Cesaro ended up unloaded on Chad Gable into the corner with a uppercut. He kept control, and he couldn't hit the Cesaro swing as Chad Gable ended up reversing it. Gable was working on Cesaro's arm. He ended up slamming Cesaro. And we had Otis end up looking on from the outside. Gable ended up keeping Cesaro grounded in the ring. Gable was doing some more offense on Cesaro. He ended up hitting Cesaro in the throat. Gable ended up delivering a Northern Lights suplex to Cesaro, which he went for the cover, which Cesaro ended up kicking out at 2. Chad Gable then went to the top and delivered a awesome looking moonsault on Cesaro. He went for the cover. Cesaro kicked out at 2. Cesaro then ended up catching Gable, but Gable ended up reversing it into a armbar. Cesaro ended up launching Chad Gable from the corner with the Hurricanrana, and he kept control of the match. And Cesaro did the Cesaro swing. Otis ended up coming into the ring and dropped Cesaro, which caused the disqualification. So Cesaro won the match by disqualification. So post-match, both Gable and Otis end up double-teaming on Cesaro. Gable ended up holding Cesaro down while Otis ended up going to the second turnbuckle. Otis then delivered the flying splash onto Cesaro. And we just saw Otis end up standing tall. He stared straight ahead. You saw his eyes end up bulging a little bit. And that was basically that. But overall, meh match. And we're back, like I said, we're back to Cesaro feuding with the Alpha Academy. So Kayla Braxton was backstage. She was outside of the arena. She was waiting for Roman Reigns to arrive. So we see a Bentley end up pulling up. And in the Bentley was Baron Corbin. So he ended up saying to Kayla Braxton that he can be addressed as Happy Corbin. Really? Happy Corbin. We went from King Corbin to Happy Corbin. Are you fucking kidding me? Corbin ended up saying good luck is finally back on his side. He's filthy rich again. And he's happy. Oh, so he went from being poor to not having money to already now having money and a Bentley and having clothes and a hat. So Corbin ended up walking off into the building, into the arena, and SmackDown went to commercial. And then when SmackDown came back, Corbin ended up going to the ring, and they're going by his name with Greg Hamilton end up announcing, please welcome Happy Corbin. Already, this whole new gimmick for Corbin is a failure. Because Corbin, he has money. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know a certain other superstar. That another superstar's gimmick who was like this. Some guy in NXT named Cameron Grimes. So WWE basically gave Cameron Grimes' gimmick to Baron Corbin. Awful. So Corbin got in the ring. There was a apron cover there. There was velvet ropes, champagne on a table. And he apparently now has new music. It's like a casino entrance, which is awful. So Corbin ended up coming into the ring. He ended up talking about how happy he is. He ended up saying that he was so close to filing bankruptcy. He was so down over the past few months, losing his wife, dressing in that same shirt with the stupid pizza sauce on it, mustard stain, whatever it was on the shirt. But he ended up saying things changed now, and he's happy, and he's rich. So we saw a video package on how he looked up in Las Vegas last week. Corbin ended up saying that he was the mayor of Jackpot City. Who was writing this shit? So Corbin ended up saying that he doesn't know what he did to deserve this, but he deserves it. So Corbin starts bragging about his clothes, his new watch, and the Bentley, which cost $300,000 that he drove to the arena in. His wife ended up welcoming him home and had beef on the table. And fans were chanting, "You deserve it." So he wants us to call him Happy Corbin because he really is happy. And there's one thing that can make him even happier. So Corbin ended up calling Big E to come out to the ring. He ended up promising Big E that he is not going to hurt him. So then out came Big E. Big E came out, of course, with his Money in the Bank briefcase. Big E ended up saying that he's happy for Corbin and just glad that he doesn't smell bad anymore. So Corbin ended up saying to Big E that he wants to make things square after trying to steal the briefcase last week. So Corbin ends up telling Big E that he wants to buy the Money in the Bank briefcase. Of course, more mockery, more destroying of the Money in the Bank property. So he ended up offering $20,000 to Big E. But Big E was like, no. So then Corbin won $50,000. Big E was like, no, I'm not thrilled. Corbin ended up saying that Big E is going to end up miserable after he loses. So Corbin made one final offer to Big E for the briefcase. $100,000. So Big E ended up considering it to help his family. But he ended up saying, hell no. So Big E ended up offering Corbin a half-eaten sandwich to buy, or a plushie for the Arkansas Razorbacks. So the fans end up popping for that plushie because, of course, it's Arkansas. So Corbin ended up saying that this is all a big joke to Big E, and that he's way too rich and too happy for this. So Corbin ended up going on about how Big E will lose and regret not taking his offer. Big E ended up saying to Corbin that he's done with his and he's going to punch Corbin in the face if he doesn't leave. So Corbin ended up getting out of the ring and his new Happy Corbin music ended up playing, and that was how the segment ended. But this whole segment was awful. Corbin's new gimmick with this Happy Corbin thing is going to be a failure. It's just WWE took Cameron Grimes' gimmick and gave it to Baron Corbin. You can tell right there that Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard, and anybody in that creative team despise NXT. And we all know it. Did you guys see the new NXT logo that was revealed last night during the show? Man, it made me want to fucking puke. That was a ugly looking logo for NXT. It looks like NXT deserves to be on Nickelodeon with that logo. The NXT that we once knew is dead. It was dead ever since those 13 superstars got released a few weeks back. NXT TakeOver 36 was the last hurrah in the NXT that we all once knew and loved. Vince McMahon is now behind NXT. And you could tell. With the whole change in the show, you can already tell. I'm scared at what is to come for NXT. So I had to give my thoughts on that. So then we saw Edge backstage. Edge ended up saying that SummerSlam was pretty damn satisfying as he defeated a talent in Seth Rollins. Edge versus Seth Rollins at SummerSlam, great match, and it was the best match of the night. Match of the year candidate for me. That was just a very entertaining match. Both Edge and Seth Rollins were good in that match. Both of them gave it all they got. But Edge ended up saying that he had to pay for it, as he had to go to a dark place to get where he needed to be. He ended up saying that it affected him at home and everywhere he went. But now this thing with Seth Rollins is over and done with. Edge ended up saying that he's moving on from Seth Rollins. He ended up saying that he's moving on to what Rollins cost him in the first place, and that is the Universal Championship. So now Seth Rollins was shown backstage. Seth Rollins ended up saying that he only has one thing to say to Edge. Congratulations. And now we had Seth Rollins laughing. He ended up saying that he's had a week to think about what happened. He ended up saying that some people are saying it was match of the year. I even said it too. That match is match of the year candidate for me. He ended up saying that while it was certainly one of Edge's best performances, it was a loss for him. Rollins ended up saying that it taught him a lot about himself. He said it pains him to admit Edge earned his respect. Rollins then admired Edge and his Hall of Fame career, and he ended up saying that the life that he's built for himself. Rollins ended up saying that if he wants to fight his way back to the Universal Championship, maybe he needs to be a little more like Edge. So Rollins then thanked Edge, congratulated him again, and that was how the segment ended. So Rollins showing respect to Edge after the great match that they had at SummerSlam. And now we had Rick Boogs and Nakamura versus Roode and Dolph Ziggler. Once again. So we had Rick Boogs end up coming out, jamming on his guitar, introduced himself. He ended up saying that he came to party with the one king of WWE. And that is, of course, Nakamura. So he ended up heading out to the ring as SmackDown went to commercial. Then when SmackDown came back from the commercial, Roman Reigns was walking. He ended up stopping at his locker room door. He ended up asking Paul Heyman what he's doing, just standing there outside his door. So Paul Heyman ended up just staring at Roman, shocked. Reigns ended up asking if he has to open his own doors now. Paul Heyman ended up apologizing to Roman. He ended up opening the door for him. Reigns then ended up entering. He ended up stopping to ask Paul Heyman if he's also coming in, which Paul Heyman was like, "Yes, my tribal chief." And that was that. So then we went back to the ring. We had the match get on the way. Boogs, Nakamura versus Roode and Dolph Ziggler. Same match. Nothing different happened in this match. We did have a pre-recorded backstage video from Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz. Apollo Crews ended up talking about being upset with his loss to Nakamura and how his ancestors and people in Nigeria also aren't happy with him. So Apollo Crews ended up wanting his rematch with Nakamura. So there you go. That was what Apollo Crews had to say. But the match ended with Rick Boogs and Nakamura picking up the win. Boogs ended up dodging the Famouser from Dolph Ziggler and delivered a power slam to Dolph Ziggler. Went for the cover, and there you go. Boogs and Nakamura ended up winning the match. And we did not have Pat McAfee rocking out last night because we all know, if you guys read, Pat McAfee got tested positive for COVID. So it was a three-man commentary booth last night. We had Corey Graves, Michael Cole, and Kevin Owens on commentary. And Kevin Owens did absolutely great on commentary last night. So wish Pat McAfee all the best. He recovers from COVID. And then we saw Naomi. Naomi was backstage with Sonya Deville, and Naomi ended up saying that she's thrilled to be back on SmackDown and that she's ready to glow the show up. So she ended up asking Sonya Deville who her first opponent will be. So Sonya Deville ended up telling Naomi that she didn't even know Naomi was on the show. So Deville ended up welcoming her. She wasn't sure she will even measure up. So Naomi ended up telling her history in WWE. Sonya Deville ended up cutting her off. She ended up saying that she will get with Naomi next week. So Naomi just ended up staring at Sonya Deville, who was typing on her phone. So Sonya Deville was just preoccupied on her phone here. So that was that. And then we saw Rey Mysterio and Dominik backstage. Rey ended up saying that he needs to step back and let his son fly on his own. But he will always have Dominik's back. So Dominik ended up asking what that means. So Rey ended up telling him that he has to step back and let Dominik go on his own. So Rey ended up saying that he spoke to Adam Pearce and got Dominik a match. And he doesn't know the opponent. He ended up saying that he's confident if Dominik goes out there with his head up and focused, and that he will do fine. So then we had the Mysterios end up coming out. Dominik end up going in the ring. And Smackdown went to commercial. Then when Smackdown came back, Dominik was in the ring. And his opponent was Sami Zayn. So Sami Zayn ended up coming out. And the match got in the way. Sami Zayn ended up sending Dominik into the corner. And Sami ended up beating Dominik down in another corner, started working him over. Dominik ended up countering. He ended up taking Sami down. He took control of the match. He ended up putting Sami down in the opposite corner. So both Sami and Dominik end up going for the test of strength. Sami ended up kicking Dominik in the gut, started beating him down. Sami Zayn then ended up sending Dominik into the corner, but he ended up running into an elbow. Dominik ended up springboarding up to the top and delivered an arm drag and a drop kick to Sami Zayn. Dominik ended up ducking a clothesline from Sami Zayn. He ended up sending Sami into the ropes with a Hurricanrana, and he delivered the 619. So Dominik ended up running for the 619, and Sami ended up moving out of the way. He ended up pulling the ropes down. He ended up sending Dominik out to the floor. Rey Mysterio then ended up coming down the ramp while Dominik was down at ringside. And Smackdown went to commercial. Then when Smackdown came back, we saw Sami and Dominik. They were trading some offense. We had Dominik end up dropping Sami for the 619, which he ended up hitting the 619. Dominik ended up going up to the top to deliver the frog splash, but Sami Zayn ended up rolling out of the way. Dominik ended up coming off the top, ended up grabbing Sami Zayn. Sami then ended up sending him into the turnbuckles with an exploder. And then Sami nailed the haluva kick, and he went for the cover. And there you go, Sami Zayn ended up winning the match. Post-match, Rey ended up coming in as Dominik was trying to recover. Rey ended up going to console Dominik. Dominik ended up pushing him away. He ended up making his way out of the ring. And he ended up walking off as, his father was trying to talk to him. And that was that. But Sami Zayn, we always love seeing Sami Zayn in the ring. Sami Zayn is just talented. He's awesome on the mic. So then we saw Roman Reigns, the Usos, and Paul Heyman backstage. So we saw the Usos were hyping Reigns up for the family celebration. Paul Heyman ended up handing the Universal Championship to Reigns, but Reigns ended up asking, what are you supposed to do with that? Heyman ended up saying that this is a family celebration that they're going out for. Reigns ended up saying that Paul Heyman is family, and he loves Paul Heyman. So that was that. Paul Heyman ended up walking off with the Usos and Roman Reigns. And I love the new, Bloodline shirt with them on it with the Usos, Roman Reigns, and Paul Heyman. Very cool looking shirt. So SmackDown went to commercial. So then when SmackDown came back from the commercial, we had Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, and Jay in the ring. Reigns ended up raising up the Universal Championship. Pyro, of course. Paul Heyman ended up taking the mic and ended up saying that the Tribal Chief has granted him permission to address the fans. Paul Heyman ended up saying that it is our lucky night, as we will also get the chance to acknowledge the Usos as the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. So Paul Heyman ended up saying, this is the moment in the show where we all get to celebrate the fact where we have seen enough of John Cena. So Paul Heyman then ended up praising Reigns for how he ended up defeating John Cena at SummerSlam. So Paul Heyman was interrupted by Finn Balor. Finn Balor ended up making his way out. Balor ended up getting on the mic and he pointed out how he was screwed out of a title match by John Cena. You know, in the whole contract signing where Cena ended up signing it. Finn Balor was taken out, so Cena ended up signing the contract. So I knew that they were going to go back to this, you know, with Balor and Reigns. So Balor ended up saying that he will deal with John Cena in due time. So we're going to begin a future match with Balor and Cena, you know, coming up. He ended up saying now Edge is talking about a title shot. And Brock Lesnar is back, which of course, Lesnar wasn't even on the show last night. So Balor ended up saying that he was going to come challenge Roman to a match at Extreme Rules. And that he doesn't trust anyone here. And that he's not waiting in line. So Balor ended up proposing a challenge to Roman Reigns next week on SmackDown for the Universal Championship. So Paul Heyman, he was on the apron, he had his mic down, he was yelling something at Balor, he was warning Balor. So the Usos were standing behind Reigns. Reigns ended up staring at Balor. Balor tossed the mic at Reigns' chest, and he then attacked Roman. So Balor ended up getting triple teamed by Reigns and the Usos. And then out came the Street Profits. Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins. Reigns ended up getting out of the ring. He ended up walking up the ramp as Balor and the Street Profits ended up taking out the Usos. Balor delivered a corner drop kick and then a coup de grace to one of the Usos. I think it was Jey Uso. So Balor ended up standing tall. He ended up staring Reigns down. And that was how SmackDown went off the air. Well, overall, we'll get the match next week. Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. Well, overall, god-awful SmackDown last night. And now on to AEW Rampage, which this was from the same arena that they were at on Wednesday for Dynamite, the UWM Panther Arena in Milwaukee. So we had 3 matches on Rampage. We had the final in the AEW Tag Team Eliminator Tournament, the Lucha Brothers versus Jurassic Express, the Bunny versus Tay Conti, and Frankie Kazarian and Christian Cage versus Kenny Omega and Brandon Cutler. So Rampage opened up last night with the Lucha Brothers, Penta El Zero Miedo, and Rey Fenix versus the Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus. The winners of this match will face the Young Bucks at All Out next Sunday for the World Tag Team titles inside a steel cage. And this was a very entertaining, good match here. We had the Young Bucks end up coming out. They end up sitting on top of the ramp. So the match started off with Jungle Boy and Rey Fenix. Getting the match going. Fenix ended up applying a tight side headlock. Jungle Boy then ran the ropes. He ended up breaking up the headlock. Jungle Boy ended up decking Fenix with a Jimmy on the apron. Fenix ended up landing a kick on Luchasaurus while he was on the ropes. So he had Penta end up taking his glove off. He ends up connecting a few kicks to the hamstrings of Jungle Boy. Fenix and Jungle Boy end up making their way back into the ring. Fenix end up planting a spinning heel kick on Jungle Boy. And we saw Fenix end up coming back into the ring. This was after Rampage came back from the commercial. Fenix was back in the ring. He ended up taking Luchasaurus off the apron with a spinning kick, a springboard spinning kick. Later on in the match, we had Phoenix end up creeping up behind Jungle Boy on the ropes. And Phoenix ended up sending Jungle Boy soaring off the ropes with a Hurricanrana, which he ended up tossing Jungle Boy into Luchasaurus and Penta on the outside. Great spot there in that match. It was awesome. So at the end of the match, we had the Lucha Brothers end up hitting a package pile driver on Luchasaurus. So they end up getting the pin. And there you go. The Lucha Brothers ended up winning the match. They will face the Young Bucks next Sunday at All Out for the AEW World Tag Team titles inside a steel cage. So post-match, we had the Young Bucks end up coming into the ring. They ended up having some cheap shots at the Lucha Brothers. And pretty much that was basically that. But overall, this was an entertaining match. Very good match. But the Lucha Brothers really deserve this shot at the AEW World Tag Team titles. And then we saw a vignette. This was highlighting CM Punk's soon-to-be in-ring debut. After 7 years of him being out, he's going to be facing Darby Allin at All Out. And that's going to be a great match up there. The Chicago crowd is going to be loud during that match for CM Punk. So I can't wait for that match. And then we had Miro end up coming out. Miro came out and he threw Fuego del Sol onto the stage. So Miro ended up beating him down, and they were in the ring. Miro then ended up ripping off Fuego del Sol's mask. And Eddie Kingston's music ended up hitting. Eddie Kingston ended up running down. He had a mic in hand, looked like he was going to say something, but he was like, nah, fuck it. Let me go into the ring and beat down on Miro, which he did. And referees ended up coming down to restore the both of them. And fans were behind Eddie Kingston here. Miro ended up retreating out of the ring before Kingston ended up beating him up some more. And that was that. So we had the Bunny versus Tay Conti, which this was a decent, okay women's match here. So the Bunny ended up coming out along with the Blade. So the match started off with the Bunny ambushing on Tay Conti as Tay Conti was waving to the fans. The Bunny ended up raining down some stomps on Tay Conti in the corner and delivered a low flying elbow. So we had the Bunny end up going for the pin. Tay Conti ended up kicking out. And then the Bunny was looking to go for another pin. Tay Conti ended up kicking out of that. So the Bunny ended up tossing Tay Conti into another corner. And Tay Conti ended up getting out of the corner, ended up landing some chops to the Bunny. And the Bunny ended up taking charge again with a foot choke hold on Tay Conti. Tay Conti ended up breaking out of it. And the Bunny ended up hoisting Tay Conti up in the firewoman's position. Tay Conti ended up escaping, and she ended up dropping the Bunny on her knee with a backbreaker. And she delivered a boss man slam to the Bunny. So the Bunny then ended up eating a big boot in the corner from Tay Conti. Tay Conti then ended up hitting the Tay KO on the Bunny. But Penelope Ford ended up making her way down to the ring. Penelope Ford then distracted Aubrey Edwards. The Blade ended up tossing in brass knucks to the Bunny. So as Aubrey Edwards was distracted by Penelope Ford, the Bunny ended up decking Tay Conti in the face with the brass knucks. And the Bunny ended up going for the cover. And there you go. The Bunny ended up winning the match in a cheap shot win. But overall, decent match. And then Excalibur then ran through the matches that were scheduled for All Out. And it was then announced that it's going to be Eddie Kingston taking on Miro for the TNT Championship at All Out. So that set up right there, earlier where Miro end up being up on Fuego del Sol. Eddie Kingston ended up running out. So that set it off there for All Out. And it was then announced that Darby Allin will face Daniel Garcia next Friday on Rampage, before he heads into his match with CM Punk. So then we went backstage. Mark Henry was doing this interview with Kenny Omega and Christian Cage before the match at All Out. Kenny Omega was with Don Callis and Brandon Cutler, and Christian Cage was with Frankie Kazarian. And Don Callis was like, oh, Kenny Omega's tag team partner tonight is Brandon Cutler, this no-talent guy that we have here, which I laughed because Brandon Cutler sucks, in my opinion. He's terrible in the ring. All he just is spraying cold spray to Kenny Omega and the Bucks and the Good Brothers. That's all Brandon Cutler is good at. So Kenny Omega ended up calling his match a public exercise before his main event match with Christian Cage at All Out next Sunday. So Christian Cage ended up promising to make Kenny Omega look like a fool. And again, next Sunday at All Out. So that was that. And now we had the main event. Kenny Omega and Brandon Cutler versus Christian Cage and Frankie Kazarian. Of course, Don Callis out there. And this was just a meh match, in my opinion. It was just Kenny Omega taking control of the match with Frankie Kazarian. And Brandon Cutler was only used as a shield for Kenny Omega. So Kenny Omega doesn't have to deal with Christian until next Sunday at All Out. So, but Brandon Cutler, like I said before, in this match, we could tell how awful he is. So Frankie Kazarian and Brandon Cutler end up starting the match off. Kazarian was delivering some shots on Cutler. Kazarian ended up slamming Brandon Cutler to the other side of the ring with a Irish whip. So Cutler ended up finding a way to escape. He ended up making a tag to Kenny Omega. And Michael Nakazawa was also out there. Michael Nakazawa ended up grabbing Frank Kazarian's leg on the outside, and it helped Kenny Omega get a chokehold, a foot chokehold on Frank Kazarian in the corner. Kazarian ended up escaping, started delivering some chops to Kenny Omega. Cutler ended up coming back in for Kenny Omega. Kazarian ended up hitting Cutler on the top rope, ended up landing a punk kick to his midsection. And Michael Nakazawa got at it again, and he ended up clearing things up on the outside. Omega ended up coming back in, and Kazarian ended up delivering some chops to Omega. Omega ended up firing back with a Kotaro Crusher to Kazarian. And we had Omega end up making a tag to Cutler. Cutler was keeping Kazarian down on the mat. And Kazarian ended up crawling over. He ended up making a tag to Christian. Christian ended up trapping Kenny Omega after dodging out of Omega's one-winged angel attempt. Cage ended up tossing Omega into the corner with Cutler. And Cage was just doing the punches. He delivered 10 punches to both Omega and Cutler, followed by a DDT. So we had Christian. He was close to getting Omega in the kill switch, but Omega ended up retreating out to the ramp. Christian ended up hitting the spear to Brandon Cutler, followed by the kill switch, and went for the cover, and there you go. Christian Cage and Frankie Kazarian end up winning the match. And this is a good look for Christian Cage going into his match with Kenny Omega for the World Championship at All Out. And that was how Rampage went off the air last night. But overall, this was just a meh match. And Rampage as a whole last night, it was decent. But anyways, that's it for the Smackdown and AEW Rampage review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And also, if you guys haven't checked out my previous video that I uploaded yesterday, did the movie hunting video at the Goodwill, Salvation Army, and the Fifth Avenue Record Shop. So definitely check out my video of that if you guys haven't seen it yet. But till then, see you all later.